This video will show you how to solve systems of equations using the elimination and addition strategy. So we're just going to jump into two we-dos. The first one shown here will show you how to eliminate the y first. Then the second we-do will show you how to eliminate the x first. So let's take a look at our system. We have 4x plus 5y equals 6 and 6x minus 7y equals negative 20. So I've made the decision to eliminate y first, so that means I'm going to focus on my y terms. So here I have 5y and then negative 7y. I'd like to think to myself first that I know they have some multiple in common. And I simply just think 5 times 7 or 7 times 5, so their common multiple is 35. So that means that I have to get one of my y coefficients to be positive 35, and then the other one to be negative 35. So then that way they'll cancel out. So that's what I like to think first. So let's go ahead and rewrite our system underneath. We have 4x, actually I'll erase it so I have more room. Write it over here. 4x plus 5y equals 6, and then 6x minus 7y equals negative 20. So again, remember, I want to cancel out my y variables, so then my coefficients have to be positive 35 and then negative 35, so that they cancel out. So now I'm going to make the decision to make my top coefficient for y to be positive 35. I know that 7 times 5 will give me that positive 35, so I'm going to multiply the top equation by 7. And then the bottom equation, I want this coefficient to become negative 35. I know that 5 times negative 7 will give me that negative 35. So I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by a positive 5. So now I'm just going to go ahead and distribute my 7 and then also distribute my 5. So I'm just going to write draw my arrows in underneath. So then my top equation becomes 7 times 4x I know is 28x. 7 times 5y I know is positive 35y, so plus 35y. And then 7 times 6 is equal to 42. So remember to distribute to the entire equation. Some of us forget to distribute to the right side of the equal sign. And then let's do our bottom equation. I know 5 times 6x is 30x. And then 5 times this negative 7y is negative 35y. So I write it as minus 35y. Keep my equal sign. I know that 5 times negative 20 is negative 100. And then remember that it's elimination with addition, so I add. Now I add going up and down. 28x plus 30x I know is 58x. And then these 35s will cancel out, because 35y plus negative 35y, or in other words 35y minus 35y, will give me 0. Keep my equal sign. 42 minus 100. I'm just going to do a quick review here. This is a subtraction problem. Some of us still have issues with solving these or simplifying these. So I keep my first number, change my subtraction sign to its addition sign, to an addition sign. Change my second number to its opposite. The opposite of positive 100 I know is negative 100. So now I have a positive plus a negative. And then when that happens, when my signs are different and I'm adding, I know I really subtract. 100 minus 42 is 58. I keep my negative sign because the negative 100 has a greater absolute value than the 42. So back to my problem, this becomes negative 58. And then I divide both sides by 58, my coefficient. I get x equals negative 1. So remember, I'm not done yet. I have to figure out my y value. So then I choose either one of my original equations. I'm going to choose my top one. So 4x plus 5y equals 6. I have to plug in negative 1 for wherever I see the x. So 4 times negative 1 plus 5y equals 6. This is negative 4 plus 5y equals 6. I add 4 to both sides to isolate or to get rid of my constant. because that's the opposite or the inverse of negative 4. So these cancel out. I get 5y equals 10. Divide both sides by 5, and I get y equals 2. So my solution is negative 1, 2, and then I do want to do a quick check. Let me switch colors. I'm using purple a lot. So choose any or either one of my original equations. Let's go with the second one since we used the first one. 6x minus 7y equals negative 20. So wherever I see an x, I'll plug in a negative 1. Wherever I see a y, I'll plug in a 2. That should equal negative 20. So 6 times negative 1 is negative 6, minus 7 times 2 is 14. That should equal negative 20. I know that negative 6 minus 14 is negative 20. So negative 20 equals negative 20. So I know that I'm correct. So my solution is negative 1, 2. So our second redo is where we will eliminate x first. So it's the same kind of thinking when we eliminate y first, but now we're just focusing on our x terms. So I see 5x and then 3x. I know their common multiple is 15. In other words, 5 times 3 is 15. So I know I have to get either the top coefficient of x to be negative 15 and then the other one to be positive 15 or vice versa. It's up to you. Just make them cancel out. So let's rewrite our system underneath. 5x plus 4y equals negative 30. And then 3x minus 9y equals negative 18. So again, I want to get my x variables to cancel out. So I've decided that the top coefficient has to be positive 15. So I know that 5 times 3 will give me the positive 15. And then for my bottom equation, I know I have to get it to be negative 15. And by it, I mean this coefficient for my x. So then I'm going to multiply that by negative 5. Oh, well, that's messy. Okay, so then remember I have to distribute to my entire equation, even the right side of my equal sign. So then the top equation, 3 times 5x I know is 15x, 3 times 4y I know is positive 12y, so I write it as plus 12y, and then 3 times negative 30 I know is negative 90. So then my bottom equation, negative 5 times 3x is negative 15x. Negative 5 times this negative 9y is positive 45y, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Keep my equal sign. And then I know that negative 5 times negative 18 is positive 90. So then remember it's elimination with addition, so then I add. And then 15x plus negative 15x, they cancel out. 12y plus 45y is 57y. Keep my equal sign. Negative 90 plus 90 is 0. And then some of us have questions about this, but we can still continue by dividing by the coefficient. So divide both sides by 57, and then I get y equals 0, because 0 divided by anything will always equal 0. So after I get my y value, then I have to get my x value, so I'll choose my top equation. And then wherever I see a y, I'll plug in my 0. So 5x plus 4 times 0 should equal negative 30. I know that this is just going to be 5x because 4 times 0 will give me 0. So 5x equals negative 30. Divide both sides by 5. I get x equals negative 6. So my solution is, I'll draw my squiggly line, negative 6, 0, because x is negative 6, y is 0. And then let's do a quick check. I'm going to, again, use my top equation, 5x plus 4y equals negative 30. So wherever I see an x, I plug in my negative 6 plus 4 times 0 equals negative 30. I'm running out of room. That's negative 30. 5 times negative 6 I know is negative 30, plus 4 times 0 I know is 0. So negative 30 equals negative 30. I know that my solution, negative 6, 0, is correct. Okay, so here are your first two practice problems. For these two practice problems, I want you to specifically eliminate y first. So go ahead and do these in your notebook, check back in with a video, and we'll see the steps and then see if you're correct. So let's see how you did with number one. Again, I wanted to eliminate my y's first. So I've rewritten my equation underneath. I know that the common multiple between 4 and 6 is 24. And then I want to get the top coefficient for y to be positive 24, the bottom one to be negative 24. So I'm going to multiply the top equation by 6, and then multiply the bottom equation by negative 4. And then I'll work it out. Remember, you have to distribute. So 6 times 5x I know is 30x. 6 times 4y I know is 24y. And then I know that 6 times negative 14 is negative 84. Then with my bottom equation, I know that negative 4 times 3x is negative 12x. Negative 4 times 6y is negative 24y. And then negative 4 times 6 is negative 24. And then I'll add these together. I know that 30 plus negative 12, that's negative there, plus negative 12x will give me 18x. These will cancel out, keep my equal sign. Negative 84 plus negative 24 is negative 108. Divide by my coefficient, which is 18. I get x equals negative 6. And then solve for my y. I'm going to use my top equation, 5x plus 4y equals negative 14. So 5 times negative 6 plus 4y equals negative 14. Negative 30 plus 4y equals negative 14. I'll add 30 to both sides. And then I get 4y equals 16. Divide both sides by 4. I get y equals 4. So my solution for number one is negative 6, 4.